Morning guys and gals, Froggy here. This is my '02 Suburban. You've seen it in some other videos. And just yesterday I went to tap my horn because somebody in front of me at a light was, texting or putting on their lipstick or who knows anyway. So the light turned green and they weren't moving. So I was going to give them a little polite tap on the horn to wake them up, and my horn didn't work. So I'm like, what the hell? And that's a safety thing. I don't blow my horn a lot, but when you need it, you need it. So we're going to fix the horn, and I'll show you how I do it. And here we go. Now the first thing is that I push on the horn button. I'm going to call it the horn button. It's not really a button. It's more than that now. But back in the day, it was just a button. And that's when I don't get my horn to blow. Now here's the key fob, and when you lock it, it gives you a little courtesy beep. So see, the second press gives you a little beep. So I know the actual horns are working, and to me that means the relay and the fuse are good too. I'll look at them anyway, but right away, that leads me to the horn button. Now, one other thing is on this key fob, there's an emergency red button. If somebody's like attacking you in a parking garage, so that works too, and it flashes the lights. So that again points to the horn button, which, when we get into it, we're going to have to take the airbag off. It's a big airbag assembly on top of in the middle of the steering wheel, and we'll do that. I have never done it before, so you and I are going to learn together. And but first, just for the heck of it, let's look at the fuse and the relay. So the fuse box is right here on the driver's side. Just pull to get the cover off, and they have a really good schematic that shows you what each fuse and each relay is for, and you can see the horn relay and the horn fuse. So this is the horn relay right there, and that's the horn fuse. And you can see this relay is the same as a lot of other relays in 8567. So let's look at the fuse. They give you a puller right here, so I'm going to need two hands for a second, and I will pull the fuse and look at it. I'm like 99% sure the fuse is good because I got horn from the fob. The way you can tell if these fuses are good, you just look at them, and right at the top of that little piece of metal that's inside the plastic, it'll be burnt, and it'll be a gap there if it's burnt out, and this one is good. I'm going to put it back in. So I pulled out the horn relay, and I took the one from AC. I know my AC works because I was using it yesterday, and I put that in there. Now, some people say you can hear this or feel it click. It's very faint or subtle to me. Maybe it's louder on some other cars, or maybe it's my hearing. But anyway, I'm going to try now, and I can probably do this while I'm on camera. Yeah, that's using the AC relay. So the relay is good. Let me see if I can feel it click. I'll have to do it. I need two hands. Actually, yes, I can feel it click, and I can hear it a little bit. My hearing's not that great. So fuse good, relay's good. The horns are good because they're beeping, so we have to go to the pull the airbag and look there. Well, before we do that, let's press that airbag again. Maybe it magically fixed itself. Nope. Okay, first thing you're going to do is pull the airbag fuse Do not mess around with it unless you pull the fuse. And the panel is right here on the driver's side. And you kind of hold it like that and you read it, and you'll see that the airbag fuse is right where my thumb is, right there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows, the 5th row of fuses. So if you go in here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the 5th row of fuses, it's that blue 15 amp right there. So I'm gonna have to put get the camera out of the way and use 2 hands to get that out. They do give you a puller, and they give you some extra fuses again. That's pretty nice. Thank you, Chevrolet. Okay, so our airbag fuse is out. I seem to recall you're supposed to wait a certain number of minutes before you try to remove the airbag. There might be a capacitor or something. I'm going to go look that up before I start messing with it. Well, the only thing I found was to disconnect the battery and or the fuse, or both, and put your foot on the brake pedal for 60 to 90 seconds. That, I assume, would be discharging a capacitor. So I'm going to do that. There. Be back. On the back side of the steering wheel, there's going to be a couple of slots, and they look like that. You have to turn the wheel like 90 degrees to be able to see it. So this wheel is turned to the left. Actually, it's turned to the right about 90 degrees. Find the right place for it. Anyway, I'm flashing my light on the hole there, and in that hole there's a metal rod or pin that you have to press on to release this airbag module. And I don't know if you press outwards or inwards. I'm going to find that out. But anyway, you have to have, there's 2 of those, one on each side of the wheel. So I'm going to need 2 hands to get onto this. So this is the screwdriver I used, flat blade, end to end. It's maybe 10 inches. And I do have a tilt wheel, so I was able to tilt the wheel down and get it in here because it wants to hit your driver display area. And I just twisted it. I just shoved it down in that hole and I twisted it, and I got that part loose, as you can see. Now I'm going to start the car, turn the wheel the other way, and get the other side. Okay, so there it is. I just twisted. I showed you the size screwdrivers I used, and what you've got to do, let's see. Right there, I'm touching it. That's the little metal retainer that you have to twist to move it. So you have to get your screwdriver blade past it from the other side. Get past it and then twist. If you're on top of it and you're twisting, you're not doing anything. So get the blade past it. Sorry, my focus. Get it past it and then twist the blade. So now let's see what we got. First thing, let's get rid of this bomb that's sitting in my lap. You disconnect it here. That little retainer goes up, and then I'm probably going to have to squeeze the yellow thing. And I could go on and on about how I don't really like airbags, and you know there's a huge recall because some of them were going off unexpectedly and injuring people. I think they might even killed one person. But that's a whole other video, so we won't get into my ranting about the airbags. Well, it looks like what you have to do is pry under a couple of little yellow clips. Sorry about the focus. There. So pry under that clip that's right dead center in your screen, and then there's one on each side, and then pull the wires away. Let's try that. Well, actually, as I was trying to do that, disconnect, which I was able to do, this little part right there just pulls out. So you don't have to do that. Just pull it out right there. All right, right in the middle of the circle there, right in the middle of your screen. Just pull it out of there. So basically there are 4 contacts, 1, 2, 3, 4, that make the electrical connection that make the horn go off. So I'm going to have to take these off and look underneath there and see if it's dirty or something. You know, these all look pretty clean and solid. I'm wondering if it's not this piece here. This contact gets pressed down to make an electrical connection. Here's your first connection. There's another connection on there, and that looks pretty flimsy. It's just that little brassy bit right on the end there, right in the middle of the screen, and that makes a contact down below inside. I'm going to put the camera down and take a look in there with my flashlight. I might just need to spray some electrical connector down in there, because doggone it, these are copper. And these contacts, I'll probably pull one off and look at the contact underneath there, but they look good. So we got different sets of contacts going on here. And then this is grounded, of course, but the chance of all 4 of them not being grounded wrong, I mean, that's not likely. So the contact is right on the other side of where my finger is tapping right there. That's the contact surface. I'm trying to get a focus there. It's just like a raised up bump on the piece of metal, and then it contacts this piece of copper up here where my fingers, well, there, where my finger's pointing again, that piece there. And they look really good. There's no corrosion, there's no pitting, there's no nothing. So I'm going to go with that other one that I pointed out to you. I'm going to spray some contact cleaner in there, and then put the fuse back in and try the horn. Okay, I think I've got it. Here's what I discovered. On this piece, right in the center of your screen now, let me get a good focus. I'm going to twist it a little bit. You see that clip right there? My finger's touching it. It's a little clip that sticks out. On the other side, it's broken. There's supposed to be one of those on both sides. So this part is slipping up, in my opinion, away from this making a contact down in that hole, an electrical contact, where my finger's pointing, down in there. So, what are the odds that I'm going to be able to find one of these parts? Ha! Yeah, right. I have no idea. I might have to figure out some way to jam this in there, compress that spring a little bit, and make that contact. Oh, I got to go and research a little bit. Yeah, that's what it is. And I can look in the hole. Right now I'm just shining the light on it. And I can see where those 2 little ears, those little clips, are going to latch when I shove it down in there. If I twist it a few degrees, they miss the holes, and I can put it down and take it out, put it down and take it out. And if I twist it so that the ear lines up with the hole, it's going to clip in there, and I'm not even sure I can get it out. And if I try to call some parts guy, he is not even going to know what I'm talking about, because most people don't take their steering wheels apart to this degree and try and fix them. What I think I'm going to do is get some silicone and shove it in there and glue it into place. That way, I probably could undo the silicone if I needed to ever get it apart again, but it should be good enough if I get the right kind of silicone to hold it in there. Let me dig around and see what I got. So to get to it, if I could get this part, which I doubt I could get, I'd probably have to take the wheel off right here, which is not a huge deal, but I don't think I want to get into it. So I think I'm going to try my glue thing. Let me just go online and see if anybody else smarter than me has figured out a way to fix this. And if they have, I'll just copy them. Otherwise, I'll do my own thing. That didn't work, so I'm just going to put some epoxy around the general area and click it in. Hopefully it'll click and hold itself there while the epoxy sets. Well, there you can see how much epoxy I put on there. Not a whole bunch, but it's plastic epoxy and it's plastic to plastic, so I think if it clicks, then I think I'm good to go. That epoxy will set up in about 15 minutes and it won't be able to back its way out again. If it ever needs to come apart, I'll have to take the wheel off. Okay? Okay, well, I felt it click, so it's in. It's at the proper depth that it's supposed to be at, and I did pull on the spring a little bit to make the spring a little longer, make up for the normal loss of springiness or loss of tension of a spring. So I'm going to start putting this back together. Well, I popped it up back together and I thought it was going to work and it didn't. So I had to pull it apart real quick before the epoxy set. So I got it apart and I wiped off the epoxy. Now I'm going to let it dry. I still think this is it, and I think maybe I did not stretch the spring far enough, or maybe I didn't clip it in when I thought I clipped it in at the right depth. So I'm going to play around with it a little bit more, but right now I got to wrap it up. Got to do some stuff for the evening here, so this is going to be continued tomorrow, I believe. Anyway, I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, I shoved the thing in there, just holding it with my hand real tight, and now the horn does work. Let me see. I just don't have enough strength in that finger there to do it. I'm just going to put the camera down and I'll blow it. There. If you heard it blow, I just had to push with my thumb because these springs are pretty heavy. So, and now, nothing. So I know it's this connection right here, absolutely. The problem I have now, or what I'm facing, is how do I get that down in the hole tight enough, like I was holding it with my hand, without leaving my hand in there, obviously. So, to be continued. Okay, it's the next day. It's Thursday, and here we are. And when I went to sleep last night, I'm trying to think about how am I going to fix this thing. It's simple, but it's not simple. This contact right here, right in the middle of your screen, has to contact that little brassy piece in the bottom of this hole. So it's got a spring, it's got a clip that clips down into the sleeve that's in the hole, but one side is broken, so it's only got 50%. And come to find out, it has to be pressing down pretty hard. I can just let off like, I don't know if the spring's not doing its job or what. I can feel the spring. Maybe I just need to clean the contact a little bit more. I've got some Scotch, some Scotch-Brite stuff, and I'm going to clean it a little bit more and see if that makes a difference. But then still I've got to figure out how to hold it in there. Let me clean it. I'm going to need 2 hands. So here's what I did is I polished the end of this contact, and then I measured how deep I have to put this plastic sleeve in before the horn works. And that's the distance right there. So that's, if you look at that distance, that's almost full compression of this thing. It's not just that, it's like full compression. Like that. So If I lengthen the spring, yeah, that'll put a little more pressure on there. But this is just a cheesy ass spring. It's kind of like a spring you'd have in a ink, a ballpoint pen ink one where you click on the end of it and it presses down. It's a little stronger than that, but not by a hell of a lot. So I got to think a little more. Okay, so I stretched the spring out, and that does seem to make a difference. If I don't press this all the way in as hard as I can and let it come back like a half an inch or so, it still is blowing the horn. So now I just need to figure out, it's kind of a cheesy fix, but I think it'll probably be good for a year or 2 or 3. And now it's easy to take this apart again if I need to. Sorry for the noise. Somebody's running a saw. I need to figure out how to keep this thing permanently clicked in there. Okay, so now I've got it in there. It's got one click on one side. You can see it's kind of angled because it doesn't have a leg or a foot on the other side, and it works. So if I can figure out how to keep it like right at there. Probably not going to do this epoxy thing again. Let me think. Here's what I came up with. Alright, this is just a piece of strapping, stock, whatever you want to call it. Pre-drilled holes in it. I put it on top of this, one of the 4 contact fingers, so it doesn't interfere here because that copper piece is the same distance as it was before. And then I'm going to drill a hole the right size to let the wires through, but it will still press down on the plastic part of this. You follow me? Right about in the middle of those 2 holes. The only thing is I want to make sure this doesn't interfere with the airbag, and I don't think it will interfere with the airbag just by eyeballing it, but I'll have to put the airbag on there and see if it clicks on. Basically it just has to click on there because the back side of the airbag is just flat like that. So if it clicks on there, and it's not going to interfere with the connection's in the middle, so the connection for the airbag is like over here somewhere at the tip of my finger. So I think this might work. Cross your fingers. Okay, so once I get that hole where I want it, and I can bend this down so that it will just exactly put a tiny bit of pressure on there so this can't back out at all. And I lengthen the spring. So those are the critical thing is to clean the contact, lengthen the spring, and then you've got to do something like this to hold that plastic thing in place if one of the ears is broken. If neither one of the ears is broken, then just clean the contact and shove it back in there, I guess. Alright, so first thing I'm going to do is make a cut to shorten this up. I don't need it sticking out any more than necessary. And the one near the hole is where I'm going to cut it. So let's do that. Okay, so I just used a little hacksaw and I cut it off on my mark. Come on. There it is. And I'm going to use this grinding wheel. Do you think this wheel is big enough? I already did it. I'm just showing you what I did. Use the grinding wheel. Just dress it up a little bit. I just wanted to show you what I used. I already did it. I just want to take the sharp edges off of it. So I'm competing with this guy with a saw a couple of houses down, so sorry. I want to get this done. I don't want to wait until he shuts his saw off. So there's my piece. Now I'm just going to drill the hole right about there. I'll line it up, and then I'll bend it so that it's exactly the right height to keep this thing in there. See? Oh, it's working now, so it's in there now. It's right. I just got to keep it there. Here's what I just decided to do. I'm looking at these connections here, and they're really a really small rivet to connect that. I've got to disconnect this wire somehow or another to get it through the hole, right? Except no. What I'm going to do is make this a U shape so that I can just move it down a U shape. It'll slide over the wires. Pretty clever, huh? Okay, Froggy's smart. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll drill out the hole and then I'll make it into an open U shape. Okay, there's my hole. Now I'm going to make a cut so that the wires can slide in there. And of course I'll put a little dab of silicone on there so the wires don't chafe up against the sharp edges of the metal. Looking good. Okay, we'll use this little central pneumatic, aka Harbor Freight air tool, to put a little cut in there. Okay, I'm liking that. I'll flip it over and dress it up a little bit, get the sharp edges off. You know, I just thought of one thing. I'm going to have to be very careful to put that silicone all over here so that those wires never wear through their wire insulation, because I think if it does, then you'll have your horn blowing 100% all the time until the battery goes dead. You could make this out of some non-conducting material, but I don't know, most plastics are going to bend. They're not going to be hard enough. Maybe Delrin or something like that, something really stiff. Now I'm going to bend a little angle on this because we could already see that it's maybe about a 1/4 inch too high. I'm thinking maybe something about like that. Let's test fit it. Okay, I didn't tighten it up yet. I'm just test fitting it. Now, it was working there. Okay, it's working now. You really have to press down hard on those corners. Of course, when you got the cover on there, using your whole arm instead of just your finger, it's different. So I might bend it just another 1/8 of an inch and call it good. I'm putting some Loctite on that screw so that it won't back out. I decided to wrap some silicone tape, which bonds to itself, and I might still also use some silicone adhesive, but the tape, the adhesive, and the original insulation, I don't think that'll ever short out. Okay, I think we're there. Sorry for the shadow. So I think I'm just going to take these and flip these contacts over so that they're fresh contacts. They're clean, but they've got like little dimples in them, and I think the horn will blow easier if I flip them over and maybe Scotch-Brite them a little bit. And I took that silicone tape off for this particular application. I didn't like the way it was working out. I'm going to put some silicone, the stuff you use in your bathroom, plumber's silicone. That'll work good. I just needed to keep the wires in one place. I don't know if you can see that little dot in the middle. That's the dimple I was talking about. That's just normal wear, copper versus steel. But if I flip it over, I've got a brand new, nice, clean, flat surface. So I'm going to do that. Okay, so I flipped them all and shined them up with Scotch-Brite, and I'm going to put a dab of plumber's silicone sealer on there and button it up. Hey, just like that. Alrighty, woohoo! It worked. Okay, I am not going to show you every little bit and piece. There's really not that much left. Just put fuses back and fuse panel covers back and everything. So that's it. That's how Froggy fixed his horn on his Suburban, 02 Suburban. Give me a thumbs up or a like. If this helps you out, subscribe to my channel if you want more from Froggy, and hey, I got a new thing. Down in the, not the comments area, but right underneath the title of the video, there's some detail area, disclaimer, and all that, and I'm going to put some Amazon links in there for some of the tools that I used. How's that? Check them out. Froggy out. Bye-bye. Okay, one last thing. I've got my scanner plugged in. When I got all done, there was a airbag light on. It blinked 7 times, that's normal, and then it's supposed to go off, but it stayed on. So I went and researched and yada yada yada. Anyway, I think you need a code reader, code resetter to clear it. However, here's the weird thing. All I did was plug this in. I didn't even push a button to do reset or anything. And now the airbag code is cleared. So make sure it's plugged in correctly. This is not a video about airbags, so I'm not going to get into that in detail. But if you have a code after you get all done with your airbag, probably number 1, you didn't plug it back in correctly, or number 2, you need to just plug in a code reader, resetter, and either just plug it in like I did, or plug it in and clear the code, and then you'll be good to go. Okay, there's nothing wrong with your airbag, but when it's disconnected during service, it does set a code that needs to be addressed. Okay, Froggy out, bye.